Hey guys. So, like 2.5 years after doing the Halloween movies, and almost a year after promising that I was going to get to these movies last Christmas, I'm finally talking about the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. But Christmas was actually around when I started watching all of these movies, so I'm not going to be able to remember everything that was going through my mind, but looking at the synopses for each movie, I can remember a good amount of it. So let's get into it, shall we? So the original Nightmare on Elm Street, well, I had actually seen this one before, back in the middle of 2014, but I had forgotten enough of it that it was refreshing to go back and watch it, and it was actually better the second time around, because the first time I watched it, I thought it was kind of slow-paced, and that the characters were, kind of stupid. But on the rewatch, I was able to recognize these characters a lot more, put myself in their shoes, and I actually was able to appreciate the tense moments in the movie a lot more, because, I wasn't necessarily scared, but this movie did what I felt like most of the Friday the 13th movies failed to achieve, and present kind of gruesome moments that just capture your attention, but that you just go ooh all the time. Yeah, because Friday the 13th, they did try to do that, but I'm just turning away from it because it's horribly gross, and the movies were just not either well acted or that interesting, in my opinion. You can watch my thoughts on those movies in that video, yeah, but this movie was actually pretty suspenseful. I thought it was very creative, and did carry a good amount of a horrifying element to it. Although, I wish they had taken that element just a little bit more, because I couldn't help but feel, this is going to be a very bad explanation for this, I couldn't help but feel like we're kind of observing a real life kind of atmosphere, and they're putting in a mythical being of Freddy, and trying to make the horror aspect there. Basically, I just wanted to feel a little bit more scared than I actually did, even though I was tense and nervous in many situations, and I really find it interesting that they gradually, kept building up the gradual revealing of Freddy, seeing his shadow, or just seeing his claws, or knives, whatever you want to call it, scraping over everything, and then silhouettes of Freddy, and then, having his hat put his face into shadow, and then finally seeing his face a good ways into the movie. I forget exactly where. I felt that that was kind of creative. But, one problem that I kind of had with this movie was, I guess, the way that Freddy was treating them, because, okay, it's established that he's a child murderer, but drawing out the killings of a couple of them, and then eventually trying to get to Nancy, I don't know if I totally buy that, because, okay, I can kind of understand, because he's got those super or unnatural dream powers, whatever you want to call them, and messing with them, but since he's clearly trying to get to a couple people around Nancy and save her for last, what's the eventual goal, even if he just plans on killing her, I just don't really buy that. It's kind of like the Michael Myers idea, well, why would he kill everyone around Laurie if, one, that he was going to her from the beginning, knowing that she was his sister, but he could have gone to her, almost at the very beginning, Just don't know if I entirely buy that. Now, of course, this could be like the evil entity in the Final Destination movies, where you could have just assumed, maybe Freddy is just bored. That is true, but I feel like kind of the way that we got to that point, I just didn't really buy that. And then, what's his face? Nancy's father, who's the sheriff guy from the original Black Christmas. I found it pretty interesting to view, the similarities and not similar bits between the characters, and he did pretty well. But at the same time, he's the character, who is trying to act in what he feels is the right best interest, but you just faceplant because he doesn't understand what is going on, even though there's no way he could. Just those kinds of characters always get to me, even though he played the role, excellent. So, I thought I was going to have problems with this movie, but minus that one problem that I spent a couple of minutes trying to talk about, I felt like it did pretty good. Out of all the first movies and the big slasher movies that I've seen, I'm going to say that this is the best out of them. The big ones being Texas Chainsaw Friday, Halloween here, because I can't really count the series that just have the first one and then the remake, yeah. 4 out of 5, I think. I know that a few of you are going to be thinking that, what the heck? How are you not rating that 4.5? Well, it's just how I feel, and the fact that I ended up watching the movie twice kind of counts against it just a little bit. Moving on to Freddy's Revenge. I'm kind of torn with this movie because part of me did like a good amount of what they were trying to do in this movie, because here they were trying to keep us with a character, learn that character's personality and the world that's around him, and then gradually introduce the whole mythology, onto him, make us feel for him, make us somewhat feel for the people around him, have him go through a bit of a leap in personality along the way, and I did like quite a lot of that because okay, I'm totally blanking on his name here, but I'm not gonna go without learning it this time. I think this is the first time I've ever done this. Okay, Jesse, yeah. So, learning all that stuff about Jesse, that's good and all that stuff, but it did run into problems, the movie, because, first of all, there's the, even though I kind of hate to discuss this, the homosexual undertones for it. Now, I didn't get that the first time I watched the movie, but after seeing it this time, I'm like, holy crap, yeah, they definitely do that in there. So, unintentional filmmaking that puts a bit of a stick in this movie's side. Then, even though we do get to know Jesse in a fairly nice way, I can't help but feel like this movie would be better served if there was a novelization for it, so we could learn even more of Jesse's personality. The first movie, I kind of felt that way, but at the same time, I could just go along without that thing, But here, it's not as effective. And then, as we get further along, the behavior of Freddy and his motivation, because, titling this Freddy's Revenge when really all he's doing is getting revenge on the people that are in his neighborhood. No. This actually does kind of tie into the original one, because if you just ignore the motivation question, which I had mentioned, I feel like this actually could work, Freddy just going all around causing more mayhem just for the heck of it. It fits the board bit, which I kind of mentioned a little bit, but then all of a sudden he's actually able to manifest himself into the real world? What? I mean, sure, he was brought into the real world in the first one, but that's the key word. He was brought. Here, he wasn't so much brought in, he, forced his way in. And then the other way that he's defeated, well, that is kind of a clever idea. I actually would believe it a lot more if it happened in the dream world, to be honest, not the boiler room that it happened in this movie, albeit that was an intense scene, although kind of strange with all those weird creatures. Yeah, was that necessary? And then, how I mentioned that it would be better to learn a little bit more of Jesse's personality. Well, given the gay themes that are kind of thrown in here a little bit, it makes this relationship with Lisa and her personality not as effective. Again, this is unintentional, so it's a tiny bit unfair, but I feel like there's a little bit more to know from her, even though, as Jesse states, they're trying to just have a friendly relationship. Well, at least that's what he states his character wants. Yeah, I don't know if that's so much the character talking or the actor talking. Whatever. It doesn't bother me so much that he's gay in real life. It's just the fact that this movie unintentionally meandered, you know? So even though I was trying to originally state what I liked, then go to what I didn't like, I kind of threw out most of the things that I didn't like into here. Oh yeah, then there was the ending. This time I felt like throwing in the twist ending was kind of stupid. Now in the first movie is to be expected, okay? A lot of these first movies have not first movies, but tons of horror movies in general, you know, have a scare that's like right at the end of the movie, so I can see that, but doing it here again, it's like, did you not even see the first one? Huh? Change it up, you know? Or like have a recurrence of Freddy haunt Jesse in a dream again? I feel like that would have been a better ending, you know? Yeah. Right. So, when I actually did see this movie, I did have an idea of what I wanted to rate it, but now I'm thinking that I'm going to have to watch it again in order to rate it. But I'll tell you this, it's definitely worse than the first movie, and it does have its problems, even though I feel like there are some strengths in it, you know? Yeah. Okay, moving on to A Dream Warriors. I feel like this was a nice movie because the idea, you know, to kind of expand the cast that we've got in here, not having, you know, one protagonist, but instead of having multiple, and then giving a little bit more origins to Freddy, bringing back Nancy, all of that was very good stuff. And then the expansion of the Dream universe ideas, I liked that. The setting, I feel like, you know, made the movie a little bit more tense to begin with, and then some of the death scenes in here, like, you know, when that guy gets his veins or arteries, whatever you want to call it, yanked out, and he's being manipulated by Freddy, I was like, oh dear, that just really affected me, you know. I really felt it when that character ended up dying, and then of course there was a Welcome to Prime Time, bitch, so that was just epic. And then all the supporting characters in here, even though they do fit the Nancy's father in the first one, where they're not understanding it, I feel like here it's just a lot more justified and a lot less annoying, minus the fact that a Lawrence Fishburne, you know, gets written out at like the 2/3 mark, because, I don't know if it's so much because I really like Lawrence Fishburne, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing his name, but they are highlighting his character to have some importance, but then they just like write him off in the last third of the movie, right as things are getting interesting, which I found to be a bit of a bummer. Now, it could be that's what they always plan to do, but, I don't know, people. I just don't know about that. That bit has always been nagging at me. And I also can't help but think that they kind of drag this movie on a little bit. I think they could have made it shorter by just a tad, you know. Not just, you know, the building up of the character moments, but like the final battle. I think they could have cut just a tiny bit out of that, you know. I mean, like, what exactly could they have cut? I really don't know, but that's just how I feel, you know. Righties. And then the decision to kill off Nancy at the end, I call that a nice idea, actually, because if you're gonna bring back the final girl from the first one after being absent in the movie and then leaving her at like the same playing field as some other people, it's perfectly justified to kill her off, deliver an emotional impact to the audience, and then potentially pass the torch, which is what they did. And not too many slasher series that I know of do that, so it was something different that I wasn't accustomed to, and that was nice. But there were a couple of problems that I had with the movie. You know, there was the Lawrence Fishburne bit, it being a little bit too long. Freddy's mother just... I don't know if I totally buy the behavior of her spirit in this movie. What would have worked? I really don't know. but when I have these thoughts, I like to articulate them, and then there were a couple of stupid deaths, like the sorcerer kid. Just really? I just do not buy that death, especially after they've been told to stick together, and yet Freddy's able to corner him and get him just as easy. Yeah. But I do applaud the movie. I felt like it was a worthy follow-up, except this is what should have been called Freddy's Revenge. You might have called the second one Freddy Returns, but then you've kind of got the borrowing ideas from Halloween, you know, yeah. So I'll rate this one 4 out of 5 also. Holy crap, we're at 15 minutes. I think I'm going to break this into different parts. See you in the next bit.